feel like there should be some kind of music playing.
All right, exactly. As we
come
to
sit down. Good evening.
Hey y'all, it's Chris, and I'm here with Joel Ben.
How's it going?
We're gonna talk basically about how we made Run. Okay, Joel obviously did. You did the directing, you did the writing, you did the shooting.
Anthony, my friend Anthony James did the co-writing.
This is true. It was co-written by Anthony James, and I edited the movie. So, how, if you could walk through, I guess, and kind of give maybe potential movie makers, an idea of what you think would be some steps and like how we actually came about to shoot this movie, how it all came together. Can you kind of walk us through that process?
Sure. Well, first of all, really you can film with almost anything these days. People are filming with like phones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I wanted a decent enough camera for it to come out pretty crisp. So, that's how I ended up with my Canon Rebel T3i. You're welcome, Canon, for the free bone I just threw you. And we needed a funny story. In fact, I had sent Chris I think it might have been like 28 or 29 different ideas for movie shorts. And we went with the simplest one, which was Run. A bunch of people, two people running and a bunch of bystanders running because they had no idea what the first two people were running. And that was kind of based off of a true story, which is the story for another day. But, first we have this idea, then we had to come up with just enough of a story for it to be a film. So, I came up with like just kind of the basis plot. And like I've often done in the past, I sent that basis to Anthony, and he peppered in one of the funniest things I've ever read. That joke was just so far out of left
The
field.
running joke.
After we had a pretty awesome script, then it was location. When I first thought of Run, I was thinking that maybe this would be in the park. And then we toyed with the idea of doing it downtown, possibly. Then I think it was you that came up with the idea of doing the Sandhills.
Yes. I had already originally thought about doing Flash Mob.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking at venues, and one thing that I found when I was at the Village of Sandhills, that how it has a lot going on. There's a lot in the in the background and stuff like that. And so I think that was also part of what helped as far as this movie to be going on, because like you're saying, it's Run, so it's frantic and there's a lot going on. People are supposed to be running, and you don't want them obviously running like in an open field or down some old train tracks or whatever. I mean, maybe you do, it depends on the frame or the scene, but I thought that like them being in like real life situation, whatever, the Village at Sandhill was a good venue. It's very aesthetic. It has some good architecture in the back and stuff like that.
And secretly, I hope we picked up real bystanders, which kind of actually ended up happening.
We did, yeah, exactly. That was really good.
But once we had location down, then we had to storyboard it. So what we did before we even called anybody else, we drove out there and we took snapshots. Had to take various snapshots at different spots to just kind of figure out where the runners were actually going to be going through during the film. And this was kind of a funny thing that happened 2 days before the original shoot date. We're out there just doing a little bit more storyboarding, trying to get precise as to where the characters were going to be running. And then security comes up and says, "Oh, you guys aren't supposed to be taking pictures out here." To which, in my mind, I'm going, "Ah!"
Right, because we're supposed to, we're trying to get permission to shoot a movie. So you can imagine, like, if you're just out there taking snapshots and they wouldn't allow that, what are they going to say? I mean, it's almost guaranteed they wouldn't even allow us to, to shoot.
I think we kept it together pretty good. But what Mr. Awesome security officer dude told us is that we needed the permission of the general manager, who happened to be there that day. So they had radioed it in and told us where to find his office. So, we're walking to like this back lot, and the guy happens to be getting, I guess he had just gotten out of his car or something like that, was walking to his office, and we heard them radio the call-in as we're walking up. Be on the lookout for a tall Caucasian male and an African-American guy. I think that's us.
Yeah, that's us.
Sir.
We're like, they're talking about us already.
And, he was really awesome.
Yeah.
So
apparently he does some kind of, or he used to do some kind of voiceovers or broadcasting.
Yeah.
And so he actually is into communication. So he's into he understands cinema and theater and arts and stuff like that. And he was a really cool guy. And he said, sure, that's no problem. Obviously we told him, what we were doing and where, we were honest. Because at that point, we had a security officer right there anyway. Anything, that he said was not good, obviously wouldn't have gone over. So, hey, why not just spill the beans? And so we were very fortunate that he was able to give us the go-ahead for the venue. That's the most important thing.
That was fate. Dude gave us the business card, the get-out-of-jail-free card, too.
Yeah, because some people will try, especially with indie films, if you're an indie filmmaker and you just want to shoot somewhere, you better be careful because, obviously, depending on where you're shooting, the law may step in. And, if you don't have permission, you can say it's easier to beg forgiveness, but not when you've got all that equipment and you've got all these people and stuff like that. They're going to know something's going on. And
so make sure you take lots of pictures first so you can delete a couple while they see it. But still have some shots left over.
Yeah, but so as far as it came down to, when we were storyboarding and stuff like that, we went through and we took shots from different angles. We looked at different places. I saw an alleyway. I said, hey, that looks kind of cool. Let's take a shot from there and see how that works. Obviously, then later we were able to review, or should I say, I was sick that day? No, I worked the night before. Actually, yeah, I had worked Friday night, which I do. I just did a show last night and then got up to be here. But that was supposed to be at 9 in the morning. And I had just gone to sleep at 6 or 7 in the morning. So Joel actually did. What's amazing is that Joel did everything. He as far as having the people there, shooting the film and everything else. Not only that, but to its credit, everything was done on that camera. Was done on the T3i. Everything. It was all onboard audio. Right now, I'm recording from my audio device. Unfortunately, I wasn't there, so I didn't have the equipment to assist. The boom and everything else. So honestly, to its credit and to his credit, should I say, the filming and stuff like that was went rather smoothly, compared to what it could have been.
I think we had a great cast, and you actually also did an amazing editing job, slapping together those shots.
Oh, and by the way, $50 editing program. Okay, I used Pinnacle Studio HD. I got it from, I think you can get it at Best Buy. Yeah, that's where I got it, was Best Buy. And they have different versions of it. I got 14 about a year or so ago. I've had this editing program for a while. But when I went to HD, I knew I had to have an HD editing program. It's pretty simple. It's nothing fancy. It has 2 video files and 2 audio files. And so it's very simple as far as, what you can overlay and stuff like that. So when it came down to editing, that was my biggest thing. Any editor that's out there, anyone who works in software and understands post-production, you have to make it, sound, amazingly enough, like I said, everything was on board. I took some of the sound files, cranked them up a little bit here, a little bit there, whatever, and then took the different video files and cut it together. So the most important thing, aside from, having good video, probably in any film, is a good sound. And considering that we had on board, I was impressed. And I sat on this project for a week. And did, I thought, what am I going to do with this thing? I had all these clips and stuff like that, and it was all onboard audio. I didn't have, I wasn't there. And so, I wasn't, I didn't have, know exactly how it went down in my head either, let alone on video. So I literally had to watch the videos and then kind of cut here and marry it together. It looks like Frankenstein's monster. I'm not lying.
No,
If
seriously.
you see the editing work I did on it,
Between the original clips and the stuff he mixed together and the way he mixed together with the audio, you would be shocked. Like
Yeah.
that, especially that opening scene, you'd be shocked if you knew how many different takes that was.
right. And see, that's another thing. This is another thing that Joel did wonderfully when it came to the shooting and stuff like that. Take after take. If you take about 5 takes or so, I mean, even if it's just 3, getting different perspectives and different angles of the different actors. If you're only using, like, say, one camera, and you're not able to shoot, multiple cameras for a scene. If you're only using one camera, this is really indie filmmaking right here.
Yeah.
This literally was. You take multiple shots of the same scene. You have your actors, just go through the motions, 4 or 5 times, and you just reposition the camera so that in post-production, the editor is able to, go through and pick out, like, to get faces. Because whenever it comes to most movies, you notice that whenever an actor is talking, generally, you will see their face, or you at least, at some point you will see their face in the frame to know who's actually speaking which part.
Right.
And so that was one of the best things, and I have to give you full credit for that because that was great.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, exactly.
I will take
Taking
it.
multiple shots and only done on a camera, which is even more impressive because I know there are cheaper cameras out there, that still put out, decent video and stuff like that. Now, mind you, it might not have, the same audio capabilities, but it can be done. It
I'm
can be
surprised
done.
the audio was
with-
as good as it was from just the camera.
Right. And I don't know if anybody. Well, I'm sure some people noticed it. People are probably into filmmaking and stuff. Probably realized that the sound wasn't the best at all times, and that considered everything. Okay, I will say I did add some sound effects here and there, like towards the end when they're speeding off. I actually sped up the video 300 times. Or 3 times, should I say, and 300%, and then I added a screeching car sound. So after adding like the sound effects and stuff like that, I used, like, for instance, the opening scene where the lead actors were talking back and forth. I used the different scenes that would, pretty much show each one of their faces or whatever, and maybe have both of them in the frame every now and again, and use I tried to use the 180 rule where, if I were moving this way, like say I'm on Jamar, okay, friend 2, and then I wanted to go to friend 1, Ebony. If I were to, transition this, in some cases I did just cut straight to them in order to get that line, but then sometimes I would also try to reference that, hey, here's where they are in reference to one another, and throw, it helps build the scene whenever you put, all things in perspective. And then again, whenever each character is, speaking and stuff like that, then you're able to, use the different scenes. I just use one audio track, which is amazing because they said this 5 times, but I only used maybe 1 or 2 audio tracks. So their lines were actually said in one scene, and then I just cut in different, different frames, different video where they were going through the lines again, and just matched them up, lip synced them basically.
Literally, when I watched it the first time, I was like, "Oh my god, I filmed it like that."
It was like,
I don't remember it, but
exactly.
yeah, sure, I accept that.
Yeah, exactly. Because and that's probably the that's the hardest. Well, one of the hardest parts of post production. But yes, I mean to give Joel credit, obviously, with coming up with the story and then actually going out and shooting and everything that worked out. I think this project went really well. Big shout out to our actors, Ebony, Jamar, John. Who else?
A
was
really
in there?
big shout out to Allison Gayhart, who was our random marathon runner.
Yes.
She was just some bystander out shopping, but she happened to be dressed for the part. So, we were like, hey, go get that girl.
Yeah, exactly. We were like, he was casting like on the spot.
And John for coming up with the drug dealer character on the spot when we thought we weren't going to have a marathon runner. It was brilliant. And he actually has my favorite line. in the movie, "Hey, that guy owes me money."
Yeah,
my favorite line.
Yeah, there were a couple of people who actually commented about that or whatever. They really liked the way that worked out. And see, that's another thing that's cool about indie filmmaking is that you're not bound to a script or whatever. You can improv a bit, and that's one thing that's kind of nice about it, because then you have the actors or whatever, bringing their own touch, just like any actor would in their own character. In fact, you look at some of the best movies, even just from Hollywood, that have some of the best improvs. The actor literally goes off on a tangent, and then they leave it in the movie, and it turns out to be they might win an Oscar for that or something. They do very well.
And the audience has no idea till way afterwards. They're reading the fun facts.
So that's why, yeah, exactly. That's why we're doing this. And this also kind of helps keep us on track. This kind of helps us remember how we made the movie, so we can see what we did right, what we did wrong. There's different ways we can, improve. Obviously, one is me showing up. I'll say that. But, yes. Aside from that, I figured if nothing else, I had to do you justice by at least, at least trying to help, edit and put this movie
together. Did that,
together.
And then some. It was an amazing editing job.
Because I literally was sick when I edited the movie, and but I had time because I was sick. I couldn't go to work, so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be here, I think I don't know how long it took me, 19 hours or something total, but. Yeah, exactly. I went through and I said, okay, that doesn't work, and then I ran it, and this is the best part, and we did this over Facebook, was it? I uploaded the video onto YouTube untitled, okay? And then I sent him the link, and then he reviewed it and stuff like that, said, does that work? Is that what we, want to go with? He's like, okay, yes, now we need to add the cast, the credits, remember? Because obviously when you're done with the movie, it's always good to give, all the people credit. Exactly, yeah.
Those random people that were there that day.
And also I figured, and one thing that I've learned, because when I was a kid and I used to watch, credits in movies and stuff, I love when, the movie's ending and the credits are rolling, and then they cut to this little, outtake or something like that.
Outtakes.
Yes, outtakes. So half the movie are outtakes. It was it was because we started doing the credits and stuff. The movie itself wasn't that long, obviously, once it was all married together and smoothed out. But when it came down to obviously showing the cast and stuff like that, I wanted to make sure that they were in the frame. But also it was great that almost every character or every actor in the movie did have a blooper. So I was able to use that when giving them credit, in the giving them credit in the credits, showing obviously who was who and what character they played. So that's it. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments section or whatever, wherever this is going to be playing. I'm going to post this obviously on YouTube. He's going to post it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And obviously, most of you are probably watching this, on YouTube and possibly on Facebook. And so, what?
I do have a fun fact for some amateur filmmakers out there.
Okay.
Regarding with the multiple shots and multiple angles, make sure you leave an editor's corner when you're doing your shots. So after you've got action, you give it about 2 or 3 seconds to leave some editing room, because you don't want the scenes to cut right from when you hit the camera.
Yes. That's very true.
So make sure your actors know too.
Yeah.
Before you're hitting record, leave some room for editing, because God, that is crucial.
Yeah.
On top of getting multiple shots.
Nice. All right, guys. Y'all take it easy.
Later on.
We are so late right now, guys. We gotta go, but yeah.